Hey, it's Dr. Brad, and there's been a lot of talk about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, or their new term, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, UAPs. Now, it's the same thing, and this all stems from this discussion that the U.S. Congress has been having about lots of sightings and reports by U.S. military pilots, government agencies, and the like. And this all stems from this idea that back a few years ago, as part of a COVID spending bill, the former President Trump said that they needed to release the military to the government all of their reported sightings. Now, this obviously caught people a bit by surprise, but these sightings have both been released to Congress, investigated about what they could be, and now some hearings have been discussing about what does this mean. Now, we always don't have to jump to the idea of aliens, and that's often what happens here. Now, when we think about aliens from an astronomy standpoint, are they likely? Are they likely to visit us? Now, what do we know? We do know that there's lots of planets in our solar system, there's lots of planets in our galaxy, and there are lots of galaxies out there. There's about 8 planets in our solar system, hundreds more smaller objects and dwarf planets. We're pretty sure those don't have any sort of complex or intelligent life, else we would have had other signs of them. What about in our galaxy? There are 300 or so billion stars in our Milky Way, and we think that on average, every star has 1 to 2 planets. So there could be hundreds of billions to trillions of planets in our own galaxy alone. We have over 5,000 confirmed exoplanets, something we celebrated in a previous video, and we believe there's lots more out there. Now, we think there's a huge fraction of these, tens of billions, that may be Earth-like, i.e. have the conditions for supporting life. So does this mean that it has life? No. Does it mean that it could? Yes. Now, when we also say life, we have to think about what is life. We're very self-centered as humans. We think everything wants to be like us. That is not the case. Just look at life here on Earth. There's tons of bacteria. In fact, bacteria outnumbers humans. Plants, animals, dogs, all of these things are types of life. So if a planet is to evolve life, it is likely to have that as well. Doesn't necessarily mean intelligent, i.e. like humans. We also then have to look at the span humans or intelligent life has been around for. Humans have been around for, a couple of million years or so in one way or the other. Advanced technology we've had for only a couple of 100 years. Now let's look at the history of the Earth. The Earth is about 4.6 billion years old. Most of that time has been bacteria or simple cell organisms. In fact, even dinosaurs by far outlasted humans. Dinosaurs were around for tens of millions of years on Earth. So just statistically, that means a planet is more likely to have dinosaurs than humans. Now, even if another planet does evolve a civilization that can communicate and send signals, does it? Well, even if it does, space is really, really big. Alpha Centauri, the nearest star to us, besides our sun, at 4.2 light years away, that star system takes light at 4.2 years to reach Earth. Meaning, even if you were to send a signal now, we wouldn't hear for it for 4 and a bit years. Now imagine a planet is a couple of 100 light years away. If you're to send a signal at the fastest you can go, and that is the speed of light, it would take a few 100 years. So, even if a civilization exists on a planet a couple of 100 light years away and can travel at the speed of light, it would still take them hundreds of years just to reach us here on Earth. And so the idea that probably there are civilizations from other places visiting us is just statistically unlikely, not because of just simply how unlikely it is that they exist right now, or they have the technology, but all of this folded into just this narrow window of visiting us. In fact, they're more likely to have visited, if at any, in the past, in the 4.6 billion years in the past, or into the future. There's a long future headed for our planet. They're more likely to visit us, just as when we look at all these other planets around other stars, we're more likely to see it at a phase where there's no life or no intelligent life rather than intelligent life. Now, UFOs and UAPs are not new to the idea and discussion. They date back to the 40s and 50s. And a lot of these views or sightings have very logical answers. Roswell, famously believed to be one of the first saucer or UFO crashes, was a high-altitude balloon experiment the US government was using to listen in on nuclear bomb testing in Russia. You would listen for radio waves or sound waves to travel high in the atmosphere and spy on them because satellites didn't exist then. Even in the 80s and 90s, with a lot of sightings and the famous Area 51, it's been publicly released that at Area 51, a lot of these secret stealth fighters were flying and being tested there. And so, of course, the government is going to say, oh, yeah, you caught our new spy plane. Sorry. And this is kind of one of the, I think, important points to think about with these discussions now. Some of these actually probably are very real sightings. A few of them in the report have been said that they can't be explained away. And they do note that there's probably more out there, but because of the fear and ostracization that one may have of seeing something strange in the sky, they're not reported. But it's just as likely, in fact, that there are different new types of technology being developed by, say, the US or other countries. And this is why the US government's worried. Are there other countries developing similar technology? So we don't always have to jump to the alien idea. There could be very earthly reasons, and very earthly reasons why it's not publicly disclosed. Doesn't mean that aliens don't exist. It doesn't mean that aliens or other life could or even have visited the Earth. It's just very unlikely that these sightings are aliens. So what do you think on this topic? It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. It is very interesting, and it's an important one. We always wonder, are we alone? Love to hear in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook. Now, what do I think? I actually have no problem believing life exists. I genuinely believe that at least some sort of life exists somewhere else. I think statistically just very unlikely, and I do think we will find signs of it in our own solar system. But again, probably bacteria or something small. I do not think we're finding complex life anytime soon. Does complex life exist somewhere else? I am in the firm camp of, I definitely do. Again, either some point in the future, some point in the past, somewhere else. I just think it's very likely. Does intelligent life, something like us that can communicate, exist? Probably. But again, it doesn't necessarily just mean that they exist now. They could have in the past or the future. And again, they very well may exist, but it may not even be in our galaxy. It may be in one of those 2 trillion other galaxies. But have they visited the Earth? I genuinely think this is unlikely. And this is purely physics. Physics, as of now, tells us it's almost impossible to do. Now, it doesn't mean that some other civilization has worked this out, but they would have to be really tricky and really hard. And even if you can travel faster than the speed of light, we're still talking about vast distances that are almost insurmountable. You know, the way I always like to think about it is, yes, in theory, I probably could run around the Earth. I'm not going to. It's going to take too much time and dedication. Even if you could travel faster than the speed of light, you're still spending hundreds to thousands to millions of years just to visit a planet here. And if they were to, you would figure out they'd want to stay or visit more rather than just do a quick flyby. So I think it's highly unlikely that any sort of intelligent life has visited the Earth in the past or, importantly, right now. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic, and make sure to subscribe on YouTube to follow and stay up to date with more space videos.